With the release of Boothill, we're fully seeing the entry of a new DPS or team archetype with the break effect scalers. Now, Boothill is a really cool and strong character, but we're not going to go into too much depth about that because Boothill is showing us something else which I think is way cooler, and that's how insanely high the floor is for these break effect teams. What I'm talking about is basically these break effect DPSs at really low investment, so nearing the absolute floor of their performance, giving them just main stat relics and basically useless Lightcone, is still gonna work really well. This is compared to our usual crit DPS like maybe Danheng and Akron, where if you have suboptimal relics that don't have a lot of crit and you don't have a very good Lightcone on them, they're not gonna come close to showing you why they're some of the best DPSs in the game. At the ceiling, so when you start giving really good relics to Boothill, he's probably gonna perform relatively similar to your average top tier crit DPS. But at the lower investment, so what some free-to-play players might be working with, or some newer / casual players, Boothill is going to be much better. We already kind of saw this with Jinglu, with a lot of the community saying how friendly she is for newer players just because she gives you 50% crit rate for free, which makes building her a whole lot easier. I think Boothill takes this to another level because all he needs is just some break effect and substats, a break effect rope, and he's going to absolutely shred enemies. For our Genshin players, this is kind of like Hyper Bloom, where you can just slap EM main stats on an Electro character, and as long as you're triggering the Hyper Bloom, you're going to do a lot of damage. Now we have Break Effect and Staro, where you just need to slap Break Effect and Speed, and as long as you're triggering the breaks, which Boothill definitely will be, he's going to be doing really impressive damage. Now the reason it works like this is because of his Tal. If the target is weakness broken while the enhanced basic attack is being used, based on the number of pocket trick shot stacks Boothill has, he deals break damage equal to 70, 120, and 170% of his physical break. This makes most of his damage actually just come from his breaks, which can also be triggered after the actual initial break is on the enemy. Now this combined with the fact that his attack scalings aren't that good and his A2 trace converts break effect to crit anyway, means you'd really just want to stack break effect on him. Pridewind have calculated that for your average Boothill, 85.5% of his damage is going to be break, while the other 14.5% is from his actual multipliers and attack scaling. This basically means getting crit and attack on his substats, even a physical damage orb, are really only affecting this tiny portion of 14.5% of his damage. Now this also applies to his Lightcones. So since most of the Hunt Lightcones give crit, damage percent, or attack percent, they also only just affect this 14.5% of his damage. Now since Boothill is only really looking for speed and break, and other than his signature, we don't have another Hunt Lightcone that gives break effect, his next best option is literally a 3-star Lightcone called Adversarial. Now this Lightcone gives 18% speed when he kills something, which is one of the 2 stats that he really wants. And because attack barely matters for Boothill, the lower base attack doesn't really affect him that much. So for the main chunk of Boothill's damage, this 85% that is coming from breaks, it only scales off 2 things, which is his break effect and his level, which you should absolutely get to 80. Alright, we're going to put what I just talked about into action with my very own Boothill. So we're going to go no Lightcone, as you can see here, just to really show you what I was talking about. For his stats, I have 151 speed and only 158 break effect. And if we take a look at the traces, 10 and 9, which is pretty good, and you should honestly get his talent and his skill pretty high up there. The other stuff doesn't really matter too much. In terms of relics, so I'm doing 2-piece speed, 2-piece break, and I've given him pretty garbage relics. So we only actually have 4 break effect rolls here. So we have 2 rolls of break here, 2 rolls of break here, and then the other pieces have no break effect, and obviously the rope is going to be a main stat break effect, which is pretty much a requirement. We do have a good amount of speed sitting at 151, but since you're not looking for crit at all, you should try and aim for at least 145 speed for Halia here. Now in terms of Eidolons, unfortunately I do have E1 because I got 2 of them in 110 pool, and I definitely should not have activated it before making this video, but that's life. But since I nerfed his relic so much and we're not using a Lightcone, if you have Boothill at E0 S0, you can probably beat the damage I'm getting because you'll obviously have a lot more break rolls. Now in terms of the teammates, we're going to be running Harmony MC, Ranmei, and Adventuring. My Harmony MC is decent. We have Meshing Cogs, we're level 8 under Traces, and for the relics we're running 2-piece, just stacking break effect and speed with an ER rope. Now, Eidolons, I only have E2, and I'm pretty sure you can get up to E5 with what they have in the game currently. So you can easily get a lot more damage coming from your Harmony MC, especially with this trace on the E4, which gives Boothill and Harmony MC a lot more break effect, which is very helpful, as well as the E6 is going to help for the personal damage. Now we also have Ranmei. Unfortunately, Ranmei is where Boothill gets a little less free-to-play friendly because she is really good, but obviously E0 here. For stats, I'm 134 speed, 245 break effect, running Memories of the Past, and traces are 10 and 10 for the damage ones, and we're running 4 Watchmaker, which you should absolutely have on someone on your team when you're playing with Boothill. So that would either be Ranmei or Harmony MC, or you could even pop it on Bronya or something. For a sustain, I'm going to be using Aventurine. Now, Aventurine is a limited character, obviously, but he is really not necessary in this team at all. In fact, he's probably not even the best option, with the best option being Gallagher, a 4-star character. Aventurine's debuff is not really doing much in this team. Boothill doesn't really care about an extra 15% crit damage. And then since my Aventurine is using a 4-star Lightcone, and I don't have any Eidolons, and my relics are pretty trash, he is not really outputting that much damage that really makes a difference in this clip. He's really just here to shield to keep my team alive, which you can get from a lot of other sustains, even some of the 4-star ones. Alright, let's take this team into MOC 12. So this is the first half of the current MOC. And these first turns are going to be a little different because I have Boothill E1. As you can see, he already has 1 stack of his talent. A normal E0 would still have 0. So when you attack this dog here, I'll get the level 2 enhanced basic from his talent, while your normal Boothill will get the level 1. But it still doesn't end up killing the dog there, so it's not too big of a difference. We're going to pop Harmony MC skill here, and he does get hit, which gives us the ult, which you do need for that super break to take an effect. Now, that elite enemy on the left does not have physical resistance, physical weakness rather, but because of Boothill's ult, we can easily apply it here. Pop Boothill ult on the enemy on the left, which gives him the weakness, physical weakness, which lets our Boothill break. As you can see, that only did 10,000 damage without the break. But now we'll pop an enhanced basic, and let's see how big this hit's going to be. So 215k, remembering no Lightcone, 4 break effect rolls. That is really impressive damage. If you compare that amount of stats onto your normal crit DPS, that would be main stats obviously, so like a 30 crit rate, body, and damage percent orb, and attack percent rope. But in substats, 4 crit rolls, so that would be like maybe 10 crit damage and 5 crit rate. So you'll be sitting at like 50-ish crit rate and 70 crit damage, which I don't think your normal character could do 200k with those kind of stats. Another 177k on the already weakness broken character. I'll refresh Ranmei's buff here to try and get an ult, but we are a bit off with the energy. We do get slept here, but luckily, let's see if the dog hits our Boothill to wake him up. Okay, perfect. That was kind of lucky. Anyway, we're going to pop that ult again to do some weakness, and 3,000 damage, which is pathetic, but that's without the weakness break. And we do pop the weakness, almost 200k again, which is absurd. So as you can see, the attack scalings really don't matter, and I'm not playing into it at all, because honestly, if I did have attack and crit build, that Boothill ult probably would have only done like 10-15k damage, which is really useless in the grand scheme of things when his breaks are hitting for 150 to 200k damage. And now we're on Japard. So once again, the enemy on the left does not have physical weak, so we're gonna focus Japard first to get his ult so we can apply it later. And we actually almost die there, so that's not too good. Pop the Aventurine ult. I did not use Aventurine ult on Japard here because I do not want to break. I want to save the weakness break for Boothill. Hopefully should happen here. Ranmei auto, didn't get the ult back. Oh, the ult, Ranmei's ult's already active actually, as you can see the effects on the left. Now, unfortunately, the Aventurine follow-up did actually break the enemy on the left, which kind of sucks, but we're just going to focus Japard here. And that's 240k now, with, once again, no Lightcone, bad relics. So let's see if we can finish it in the next 2 cycles. So that's a 260k now. And because Boothill is building a lot of speed, my one being 151, you are gonna get a lot of turns. I don't have a Lightcone, but if you did have one, if you're free to play, you're using adversarial, which gives 18%, or you have your signature, which gives 12%. And then obviously, if you have Ranmei on the team, which you should if you have her, Boothill is gonna get a lot of speed. You're gonna easily be able to hit that 160 threshold and maybe go even higher. And let's see, we should be able to finish him off with Boothill's next attack here, which will give us a 4-cycle clear, which is not amazing, but considering how little we've invested into this DPS, that's pretty incredible. So there we go, 4-cycle clear with a Boothill that has no Lightcone. First of all, he has really bad relics, and he's easily pumping out 200k plus on all these enemies. So now that you've seen what Boothill can do with no Lightcone and pretty bad relics, let's show you what he can do closer to his actual potential. So here's a showcase of my Boothill, which is E1, and I also have his Lightcone, so S1. The support builds are exactly the same as before, and I'll pop Boothill's actual build at the end of the video. And I'm going to stop yapping now and just let this clear play out. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Waiting in line for let's duel. There's your reward. Stay in step. Let's improvise. Still the same when the mood is set. Let the show begin. There's no reason it was those with a loaded gun. Those who dig their grave. Haven't eaten yet. All you stand still. Bring it on. Time's up.
There's more to life.
Take your positions. Still the same one.
Enemy data set net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Let's duel. Those with a loaded gun. Those who dig their grave.
Grace and elegance. Existence is unity.
Stay in step.
Enemy targets detected. Ready for another?
Bring it on. There's your reward.
Some value, I suppose.
The mood is set. Let the show begin.
Commencing support.
Waiting in line for a bullet. Let's duel.
Every petal all will be swept away by the wind.
Time's up. All you stand still.
Enemy data secure net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Bring it on. There's no reason those with a loaded gun. Those who dig their grave.
Enemy targets detected. Ready for another?
Our position is solid.
Stay away.
Dreams do come true.
There's more to life.
Waiting in line for a bullet. Let's duel. Time's up.
We have the upper hand.
The mood is set. Let the show begin.
Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Let's improvise.
Eternal. Every petal all will be swept away by the wind.
All you stay. Bring it on. There's your reward.